Hi everyone, welcome back. Today we are going to turn this incredible seafood bounty into the most incredible restaurant quality seafood pasta. This recipe is going to be a little bit more involved, but I assure you that the end result is going to justify the work that you put in. And when I say the recipe is going to be a bit more involved, I say that because we are going to make a seafood stock from scratch using the shells of the crab, the shells from the prawns, as well as a little bit of juice from the clams. That stock is going to form the foundation for our sauce because you can't have an amazing sauce if you don't have an amazing stock. Without further ado, let's get into it.
Okay, so let's talk seafood. The only thing you really need here is crab, but I really like the addition of prawns and clams because it gives the stock much more depth of flavor and just makes it better. I'm only putting my crab into the steamer now because it takes a bit longer than the rest of the seafood to cook. I'm letting it steam for about 4 minutes. After 4 minutes, I'm going to add my prawns and my clams in to steam for another 4 minutes. Of course, if you don't have a standalone steamer like this, you can always steam using a wok. While the seafood is steaming, this is the perfect opportunity to do more mise en place. I know it kinda looks like I'm slicing things unnecessarily thinly, but the reason why I'm doing that is because I find that when I'm making a sauce, I don't really want to taste a huge chunk of garlic or ginger or chili. I really just want the aromatics to kind of disappear and give its flavor to the sauce. So just take your time to slice things up a bit more finely. The aromatics that I'm using today are ginger, garlic, shallots, and red chili. And as always, if you want the recipe, it is in the description down below. After 8 minutes, your seafood should all be cooked and you are rewarded with the most tedious part of the recipe, peeling the seafood. The clams are by far the easiest and quickest, followed by the prawns. Oh, and by the way, when you are peeling the prawns, you do want to reserve all the prawn shells because that's going to go into our wonderful seafood stock. The crab is by far the most annoying and I absolutely hate peeling crab. To me, if someone peels crab for you, it is a sure sign that they love you a lot. And just like the prawns, you do want to reserve all of your crab shells. I also never waste the kani miso or the guts of the crab found in the head. It is really delicious and has already been steamed, so you can add it directly to the meat. It's time to make the stock, so add in your reserved prawn and crab shells. Add in all of the juices that came out of the seafood when you were steaming it. Finally, add in enough water so that it covers the top of your shells. Now I just bring it up to a rolling boil and let it cook down for about 30 to 45 minutes depending on how much liquid you have. As you can see, I stopped boiling when my liquid was about a third of the original volume. I removed the larger pieces of shell so that I could pass it through a strainer that strains out all the small pieces of shell. Okay, give yourself a pat on the back because everything up until this stage of the recipe can be prepared in advance. You can freeze the seafood stock and the meat should last a day or two in the fridge, but when you're ready to eat, here's what's gonna happen. Starting with the pasta, I'm using a linguine because it's quite a robust and rich sauce, so something a bit heartier like linguine does the job well. The water I'm boiling the pasta in is also unseasoned because I cooked the pasta in a somewhat peculiar method and we'll get to that later. While the pasta is boiling, you want to add in some olive oil into a skillet and then you're going to saute up all your aromatics. At this stage, you're simply sweating the aromatics, which means that you don't really want to develop color on it, you just want to cook out the raw flavor. I would do this for about a minute or two on medium heat. Now you can tip in all of your seafood stock and you know how precious this is, so don't waste a single drop. Let it boil for about 2 minutes and this is really to let the flavor of the aromatics infuse into that broth. If your pasta is ready to be used, you can simply add in your pasta. If not, you can shut off the heat so that the stock doesn't over-reduce. Okay, remember about a minute ago I said something about cooking pasta in an odd manner? This is what I mean. I actually don't cook the pasta 90% of the way through and finish it 10% in the sauce. I cook the pasta about 50 to 60% through in water and then I cook it 40 to 50% in the sauce. You are probably wondering why I do that. I find that if you cook the pasta longer in a sauce, it actually absorbs a lot more flavor, and it's not just a superficial coating where the sauce is just on the surface of the pasta. Secondly, cooking the pasta for a longer duration in the sauce allows it to give so much of its natural starches into the sauce. That will thicken up the sauce, which allows it to cling onto the pasta much better. And the reason why I don't season the pasta water is because I use that quite a fair bit to adjust the consistency of the sauce, adding more water to thin it down. If you season your pasta water, it means that there is a finite amount that you can add before it becomes way too salty. But if you don't season it, it means that you can add as much as you like. As I mentioned before, since the pasta is currently unseasoned, you do need to season it. You are simply going to season with salt and freshly ground black pepper to taste. And when your pasta is al dente or cooked to your desired doneness, you can drop the heat down to low just to keep it warm. What really elevates this sauce is a bit of lime juice. You don't want to use too much where you taste the acidity, you just want it to lighten the dish as a whole. I finish up the sauce by emulsifying in 2 pats of butter. You simply add the butter in and shake the pan while you're stirring up the pasta. As you can see, this gives the sauce a beautiful glossy finish. To give the dish a bit of fresh flavor, I'm adding in some chopped parsley and some chopped dill. At this stage, your pasta should be essentially done. You are simply going to add in all the seafood that you extracted while your camera is out of focus. Congratulations if you have reached this stage of the recipe, because it is finally time to plate up. Just simply spoon on your pasta together with a generous amount of seafood, and as I'm looking at my own footage, I'm realizing that my tiger prawns were way too big for this recipe. If you have really gigantic prawns like I did, you might want to dice them up or just get really tiny shrimp.
Finally, taste test. This is honestly so good. I hope you're not put off by the amount of work that goes into this. And just try to make this at least once. So the reason why I think this is restaurant level is because we've taken the time to really make a wonderful stock, and we have reduced that stock all the way down till it's almost like a glaze, which means that you're getting the essence of that crab and that prawn, the sweetness of both of those ingredients combined with the briny, salty nature of the clams. It's just a perfect combination. And that's really the reason why a lot of the times home quality pasta doesn't taste as good as restaurant level, because a really good restaurant will take the time and effort to make a really robust, flavorful stock, and that stock forms the foundation of their sauce. So I know this recipe isn't as quick as a lot of the other seafood pasta recipes out there, but trust me, if you take the time to make this, I guarantee you that this will be one of the best pasta dishes you've ever made. But now I've essentially given you the technique, the tips, and the tricks to make this at home. I really hope you give this one a try, and I will see you on the next video.